We have much more on President Trump's policies.
Oh, we do. And he has these big ambitions for the U.S. to become an AI superpower, as we heard him talk about at Davos yesterday. This is touching off a global tech race. And we're joined by Michelle Giuda, the CEO of the Krach Institute for Tech Diplomacy at Purdue, to talk us through it. Michelle, we have seen this week the Stargate venture announced, and then Meta today talking about a big investment in AI and in data centers. Those are all private sector initiatives. Are they going to be enough to keep up with what rivals like China in particular are doing with state-driven investment?
Yeah, thanks for that, Mike. Well, I think what we're seeing in the first 5 days of the second Trump administration is that America first also means innovation first. And as you pointed out, there's a lot of momentum with private sector companies now stepping up their game to invest in the future of the United States, becoming what the president has said will be the world capital of artificial intelligence, the world capital of cryptocurrency. And that's really important because China wants to hold that title. And China is also pouring a lot of its own government money, billions and billions of dollars, into building out data centers, building out infrastructure. They're building 8 new massive data hubs. They're approving 10 nuclear power plants every year. They have a national initiative called Eastern Data, Western Compute. So to see private sector companies in the United States all of a sudden really cranking up their investment in this strategic capability for the United States is good news.
Michelle, you've talked in the past about the importance of democratic allies working together in this area of tech. Yet yesterday also at Davos, we heard Donald Trump talking about tariffs and differences over regulation with the European Union. How does that complicate joint efforts to, say, counter China?
Well, you know, with trusted allies and partners, you can also be really honest. And there are honest conversations going on about what it takes to work together and to be effective economically, to be effective technologically in order to compete against China. And the innovation first approach is really interesting because the opposite of that, the alternative to that is the regulatory first approach. And we've seen what happens with that. Just look at Europe. The report that Mario Draghi released just a few months ago outlined how painful it's become for Europe. They have to pay $800 billion a year just to catch up in terms of tech competitiveness. In 50 years, they haven't created a single company that's got greater than $100 billion market cap. All of their unicorns, a third of their unicorns, are fleeing the EU. So we have to change that because the Europeans, our friends in the Indo-Pacific, Latin America, all across the world are really important partners. So we need to be on the same page in terms of how we power innovation. At the same time, we are powering our national security.
Michelle, it's interesting that the previous administration and the last days of the Biden administration did put some pretty tough focus on NVIDIA, for example, and its ability to export, particularly to China. How much might that hinder some of the very successful companies here in the United States with the ongoing geopolitical tension?
Yeah, I think we'll see some developments with the new Trump administration on where they're going with export controls. But remember, that started under the first administration, was carried forward by the Biden administration. We'll see where that goes. But I think you can tell that this administration is very focused on innovation and national security at the same time. So we've got to bolster U.S. and allied innovation and leadership so that we win and our values are represented in technology. At the same time, we can also protect our national security. And as President Trump said in his inaugural address, America can do the impossible. It's what we do. And to balance those two things with our allies, I think we're headed on a trajectory toward that.
But it takes time. These $100 billion of investment, up to $500 billion, can't go into the ground immediately to start getting data centers up and running. It takes years. And yet we might see an impact on goods coming from China in months. Is that a key issue? Is that a national security risk?
Well, I think this administration has signaled that this all needs to happen as fast as possible. They've used the word unleash many times, unleashing American energy, unleashing American innovation, declaring an energy emergency in order to really catalyze and accelerate what we're doing there. We're going to need so much more energy to power these data centers that power AI. OpenAI and Goldman Sachs, I think, had estimated we're going to need 50 gigawatts of new incremental energy in order to do that. We're dusting off old nuclear power plants. So you're right, that has to happen really fast. And the great part is that we've got private sector companies now on board that are going to turbocharge our effort.